Hello. In the last 6 weeks, I've been putting together a fantastic resource for students on how to revise their GCSE English exams from January right up until May, June 2026. The thing is, the problem that students have is not that they have any poor ability, but they often do not know how to revise and when to revise and for how long. So I have spent a long time putting together a resource which is a one-stop shop really for AQA GCSE English revision. That includes English language and English literature. Now, what does this guide have that a lot of guides don't have? Obviously, many guides have past papers, model answers and things like that. But this particular guide has also got ways that students can self-progress because it is AI supported when it comes to marking. And at the end of the resource, there are AI prompts to help students when they have done a piece of work to actually get it marked and get a mark back and feedback and ways to improve. Now, I want to share my screen and just show what this resource is about. So let's just go to it here. So this is the resource. And if you look at the top of it, it says AQA GCSE English Revision Planner Year 11. And it talks about exams May/June 2026. Now it includes AI supported self-marking, and that's with using ChatGPT, and marking prompts, model answer prompts, and links to my shop where guides and resources can be made. It's for year 11s predominantly, but to be honest, it's very important that if some year 10 students want to get ahead of the game, they too can benefit from this type of revision. Revision is never really taught that much. It's more about timetabling it. But let me just say one thing that's really, really important. When you plan a timetable and a schedule, you have to plan in things that you like as well. You need to plan in your hobbies, your pastimes. If you play a musical instrument, if you do a sport, you mustn't stop doing that. Most students think that when it comes to revising, they've got to cram long hours, and the more they do, the better they get. But that's not particularly true. What we don't want to happen is that students will become burnt out. So it's for a lot of people. So I have developed phases, which you will see here. So if I just go a little bit bigger on the screen, you will see that there are kind of 4 phases that I am trying to develop. Let's just get them up. It's quite difficult to do this. It jumps around. Right. So there are 4 phases within the revision guide that are based on the months that we have left before the exams. You've got phase 1. Now that's called the consolidation period. That's when you go back and look at all the texts and the language papers you've done and revise and look at those elements there. And there's a guide about what that includes when you go through the booklet. Phase 2 is application and exam practice, and this will be in March time. So from January to February, you're starting your revision planning, and you will notice that things get more intense as time goes on. Phase 3 is intensive revision, April to early May. That is the last possible time that you can really put in time whilst you're still at school, while you're not actually in the exam room. Now, phase 4 is the exam window revision, and that means before the first exam on the 11th of May for English. So look, here are the exam dates. For English literature, the first paper is Monday the 11th, and paper 2 is 19th of May. Now, it's a relatively short period of time away, and it's going to go by very quickly. And then you've got English language. Paper 1 is on the 21st of May. And of course, the last paper of English, it's always language paper 2 in AQA on the 5th of June. Now, this is just a guideline and students can adjust and adapt. But if I'm talking about just the weekly time commitment, I would say that in January, February, altogether on a weekly time commitment, you probably should hours. And then March, it's a bit more. And if you notice, they go up as time goes on. So it's all about that. But look, the focus sessions that you do could just be as little as 30 to 45 minutes. You know, if you do long hours or an hour and a half in one go, you will get tired and you can only take so much on. Okay, so we're moving on. So these are the texts that are covered in this particular resource. The literature paper 1, Shakespeare plus 19th century novel. In this resource, you have a chance of doing a Shakespeare question with Macbeth or Romeo and Juliet. You've got a 19th century novel, which is Christmas Carol or Jekyll and Hyde. And in literature paper 2, you've got the Power and Conflict anthology in the poetry section. You've got in the modern text and in spectacles, DNA, Animal Farm, Lord of the Flies. And after Power and Conflict, you've also got unseen poetry. So some of the language papers have a new specification. And in language paper 1, I've developed AQA style language paper 1 under the new specification and the question format. And there's also a language paper 2 guide, which is a specification paper also on showing the new format for that. So this is all very important. Now, how does it work? So for instance, if you look at the first bit, if you say, right, I'm going to spend about 30 minutes this evening looking at Macbeth, the best thing I'll do is to go to an extract and read it and see how I understand it. So that would be a way in. And then once you look at that, you'll find at the end that there is a question. So it says here, and it always gives context, which is great. Starting with this moment in the play, explore how Shakespeare presents Macbeth's ambition. Write about how Shakespeare presents Macbeth at this point in the play. So you've got the extract to lead you into Macbeth again, and how Shakespeare presents Macbeth in the play as a whole. And that obviously is the hardest part. Now, when that's happened and you've looked at that, you've got the option of going about this is what. So this is just one particular aspect. So focusing on Shakespeare. So during phase 1, your commitment is about 2 hours. Text knowledge, you could spend about an hour on it. Reread key acts, scenes, create plot summaries and character fitting mind maps. Quotation work, look at quotations, kind of learn 5 to 8 key quotes per text, and then practice embedding quotes into sentences. Now, that's low stake practice. It's not overly hard. It's not as intense. However, you can plan answers to past questions would be one low stake practice. But look, students can choose to write a full answer and then use the self-marking prompts at the end of the guide. So let's see how we go about that. So in this particular booklet, you get a place to write. You can either print this all off, or you can keep it online, PDF if you want, or you can print it a sheet at a time and write answers. So planning your answer there. And then what you get then is a self-marking prompt for Macbeth question on page 66. And then this particular booklet has over 80 plus pages. So you have to scroll all the way down to that, and then you can mark with GPT. So look, that is basically what this guide is about. It gives you the chance to actually make headway in the way you approach revision. And it's so important all the time to make sure that you are doing this and committing to it. It's once you've got a plan, it can be adjusted. It's about, what you're trying to do is specific. So if you want to spend a bit of time on Macbeth or a little bit of time on A Christmas Carol, you can. You don't have to do it in a particular order. But I've put it in order so that it's easy to manage. And once you know how to input information, the prompts give you the first words that you put in. The next thing is that you have to input your answer, and then the next input is that you have is very descriptive from what you want to get out of it when you put in the prompt into ChatGPT, and it will do it very well. But it's the prompts and the way you word things that make the difference. A lot of students have used ChatGPT before that, but haven't really used the right wording. But everything is in here, and it will help you all the way through. So look, that is it. My feeling is at the end of this, you can purchase this online. You can go into my shop and you can purchase it now. And once you've got it, you've got your plan, you can sit down and start building your own schedule. All right, so that's it. This is a game changer. And as I said, a lot of students don't always need motivation. They just need guidance. They just need to be guided how to go about things. And that's what's important, and this is an important time in everybody's life. So let's make sure that you maximize your time. Time goes by really quickly when we turn into the new year. And this is where we can go forward. Now, on a final note, year 10s could also do this. It'd be great if year 10 started to develop their revision techniques in this year rather than leaving it to year 11. Sometimes there's a bit too much of a panic mode. Anyway, do get in touch. And if you are happy with what you see here, please subscribe to my YouTube. Thank you very much.